Welcome to Culture on Tap. We are a podcast that is about bridging the cultural gap one conversation at a time. We have myself, Xavier Bright, Dale Young sitting across from me, and the man.
He's got a mind.
He's got a mind. We're
going to dip into that mind in just a second.
Behind the camera, Range Armentar. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and share on anywhere you listen to or watch podcasts. And make sure to hit the bell so that you get the notifications. And please like and subscribe. We have been getting new subscribers each week.
We have.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But continue to do so.
We would love to hit 500, which is a lot.
That's a lot.
We got to go big, go home.
I don't even know if I know 500 people.
Well, then you need to share with a friend because he's already an introvert, so he ain't got a lot of them.
I know 3 people.
500 by the end of April. That's the goal.
That is the goal.
But
please like, subscribe, hit the bell so that you get the notification. So get the bell. But yeah, what do we have today as far as
fun facts with Range? So this is a good one. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to ask you, then I'll answer, and then we'll let Range answer. You already know what he's going to say when I ask you this question.
Okay.
But our people, this might be my favorite one we've done yet. So when you were in elementary school, what was your favorite playground game to play?
So I have a few. So obviously, like hide and seek and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go with basketball. That was fun. But I love to play Duck Duck Goose as well.
Duck Duck Goose. Okay, so we played some Duck Duck Goose.
You would.
What does that mean?
I was into freeze tag. I was all about, especially like Chinese freeze tag where you had to crawl between people.
Yeah.
I could never do that game anymore, but back then I was about that.
It'd be a little weird.
Yeah, a little weird. So, Range, would you care to share with us what game you played when you were in elementary school?
So, let me start with, I don't know that I would say it's my favorite.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, I bet it is. But it is a game that we played, and I actually think I don't remember exactly how to play. But anybody that went to Iowa that played, please enlighten me.
First of all, if you went to school at Range, we need to know you. Like I need to make sure there was someone else that actually went to school with Range.
You know how I see it? Everybody in Iowa is like their Range.
Oh, yeah.
Like in Madagascar, whenever they go to Africa and the zebra is just a flock of zebras, but they the same person.
Hi.
I feel like that's how it is with Range in Iowa, Louisiana.
I need to know someone that went to school. I need you in the comments. Please, if you never comment again, just tell me you went to school Range, and I would love to know that you played this game with Range.
Yeah, absolutely.
What game is that?
But anyway, so I believe it's kind of like a combination between the two games that y'all just named.
So y'all just were ahead of the game.
Absolutely. So the name of it was Rat Rat Cat. Again, I don't remember.
Rat Cat.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly how it was played. I'm pretty sure it was a combination of the two games that y'all just named.
So a combination of Duck Duck Goose and freeze tag
makes Rat Rat Cat.
Sure does.
Let me just be really clear with you. Like the day he said this game, so it was me and him and my daughter, and she said something about playing freeze tag or something like that. And I said, yeah, I miss playing that. And we said, what about you? And she goes, we played Rat Rat Cat. But he said it like you said, Duck Duck Goose. Like, and I just stopped and I was like,
I figured everybody's played it.
No.
I've never heard of Rat Rat Cat.
It sounds like Duck Duck Goose.
So who's it? Is the cat it or is the rat's it? You don't remember.
No, the cat's it.
The cat's it.
Yeah, he's chasing all the rats.
Oh, that makes sense.
First of all, if they still play this game in Iowa, if you could get a video
of how it's played,
like that'd be Christmas to me.
Yeah,
Rat Rat Cat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing. I think that's my favorite one. It's a toss up between that and the royal family.
The royal family's a good one.
That's a good one.
But rat, cat.
Rat, cat.
Like, I feel like the more we talk to Range, it feels like we're building a fairy tale land.
And the funny thing is, we've been friends for over 7 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's just, and here's the thing. Like, I don't think I ever want to visit Iowa because I feel like it's never going to live up to what I need it to,
Yeah.
Like you said, like when we go to Disney this time, you want Dole Whip. And I feel like it's going to disappoint. No, some people love it.
I don't know. You'd be surprised.
I feel like that's going to be Iowa.
Going Iowa. Yeah.
Like, I want to go by the barber shop that only does a little boy special and then go to the school where they play
Rat, cat.
rat, cat.
Well, that has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about today.
I mean, we are talking about schools.
We are talking about schools, but it's a hot topic, school shootings.
School shootings.
And this kind of has sparked this conversation because on Monday, March 28th, there was a school shooting in Nashville. And here's some of the facts about it. The shooter was a Nashville resident, Audrey Hale, opened fire at a Christian private school, the Covenant School, killing 3 children. All were 9 years old. Evelyn Dykus, William Kinney, and Hallie Scruggs, who was a pastor's daughter in that neighborhood, in that city. And 3 adults, a custodian named Mike Hill, a substitute teacher named Cynthia Peak, and the head of the school, Catherine Kuntz. This whole thing lasted 14 minutes before the shooter was shot by the police. And this marked, which is crazy, this marked the 19th school shooting at a school or university in the past 3 months that left at least one person wounded. And it was among 130 mass shootings over the course of this past year, with at least 4 wounded. And this was the deadliest school shooting since last May's Uvalde, Texas school shooting, which left 21 people dead.
Yeah. So even this past week, the high school that I went to in Mississippi had a shooter come on school property. He did not kill anyone or wound anyone. They were able to apprehend him before anything like that happened. It's a lot.
Yeah. So what was your initial response
to
hearing about this
in general, or it's so weird, like when you ask that question, because like to me, I think when you say school shooting, my first thing that comes to my head is deep immersive trauma. Like, I have no idea what that would be like to be there or to have a child in that situation or a spouse in that situation.
Yeah.
But I feel like from past situations where I've talked to, like when Columbine happened, like I went to an event where those students spoke and some teachers spoke. I imagine like you never fully recover from that. Like I couldn't imagine that there's ever a day where you're just good.
Yeah.
I think you can get to a place of better, but I don't know if good is ever the same.
Yeah.
So I just think deep inflicting trauma.
Yeah.
That's my first thought.
I think my initial thought, I was with one of my friends in HEB, and we got the news, and it was heartbreak, anger, and really just bracing myself for where's it going to happen next?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and it's like you can't pinpoint where it's going to happen. Like, it's Nashville this week, it's Uvalde, you know, Texas, with small town outside of San Antonio. It's just like you can't pinpoint it. And I think the anger stemmed from social media responses.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like, it's like wishing people would just shut up long enough for the family and people to mourn without turning it into something that's political.
I think that's my biggest. I mean, like I said, my biggest heartache, because my heart goes out to anyone that has ever lost someone in a situation like this. Honestly, my heart even goes out to the families that someone in their family is the killer.
Right.
Like, just that you have to live with that.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that'd be like, but I agree that I feel like because of, and we've talked some about social media. I think the callous area of American hearts because of social media is we jump on our agenda so quick. The crazy part is I was not, when it happened, I didn't hear about it immediately. I actually knew something had happened because immediately my social media was flooded with the gun argument.
Yeah.
Which we're going to get into that. But so I was like, something happened.
Yeah.
And then my wife called me and said, hey, did you see this? Which is crazy that I would see the debate before I would actually see the tragedy.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is part of the reason why I take frequent breaks. Like, I wasn't on social media a lot this past week for this reason. And it's like most people don't listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to just reply.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like we all want to be right. And in the midst of us wanting to be right, we lose the know-how to love neighbor well.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, you I mean, I know you saw it because we didn't talk about it, but you mentioned somebody posting about, I mean, and this wasn't just one person. This was like,
I saw it 100 times.
A medley of different people posting The Rock with Kane and then David. And
side note, just so we're clear, so the post is, Cain used a rock to kill Abel, and David used a rock to kill Goliath. It's not the rock's fault; it's the person holding the rock. So, side note, just for fun fact, Cain didn't kill Abel with the rock, or at least we don't know that. There's nothing biblical. There's no biblical evidence to that. In fact, most people believe that Cain used a spear because his name means sharp point. Doesn't mean that it has to be that, but there's no biblical evidence to that at all. And just another side nugget, David didn't kill Goliath with the rock. He knocked him out and killed him with a sword. Just fun fact for today. But I mean, for me, it's I agree. Like, there's so many people that want to immediately go, and we're going to get into the gun control part, because I think there is an argument to be made about that. But so let's go right into and let me just be really clear. This is not. We don't want to be insensitive towards anyone that's going through this. Our goal in this is not that we have the vast knowledge of what schools are doing or not doing. We don't have the vast knowledge of everything that has to do with guns or the mental issues that are going on with people that do this. Our goal is to try, as we've done every other week, to take a biblical approach to what we think this looks like. And we might even ask Range to weigh in, because Range, this is a fun fact with Range. Range was a school teacher for 5 years, 4 years?
4 years.
4 years. I got close.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's ask that, Range. As a former school teacher, what is your initial thought?
Well, like, I guess everything else, and not to make a joke about any of this, I know very little about what happened or Definitely, I had no idea there was that many things that happened this year
Yeah.
alone that
Yeah.
X put out.
I actually didn't. Well, I knew that. I don't know if you sent it to some of our staff members but either Judah or somebody read that to me this week, and I had no idea either. Like in the last 3 months, like that's daunting.
Just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because the last one that I heard about was Uvalde.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, obviously huge, but, so as a teacher, it's kind of, it's weird, because I was an ag teacher, which every school the 3 schools that I taught at, my classroom and shop was separate from the main building.
Mm-hmm.
So there were things and plans in place. But I mean, it's still something that as an educator, as a teacher, you think about often, especially whenever you hear about it happening. But I don't, my personal opinion, I don't know that, schools are properly prepared for things like this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
They try, but I mean,
like-
there's only so much a principal can do,
right.
to prepare his school, his staff, or her school, her staff.
Right.
So, and I mean, I think that leads into our first question of, is this a lack of
security at schools.
security at school, or is this a gun control issue? And let me just be, I'll also say this. It's easier for us on the outside to sit here and have this conversation. If it was my child or my husband, or not my husband, but my wife, I don't have a husband.
Yeah. Good,
I would, for women that have a husband that are teachers, if it was someone related to me, no matter what you have done would not have been enough.
right.
And I think that's a fair statement, for anyone that, yeah. So,
Yeah. I mean, I remember growing up, we had fire drills, and occasionally we had tornado drills. We've never had to, or I said, to my knowledge, like this hasn't been like a huge thing that we've had to quote unquote prepare for, and we're just getting to the point where we need to prepare for
well,
it.
I mean, you're a director of a boys' home. I work there with you. We just did our first training of this.
Yep.
And so, like, when we talk about security, I don't know if you felt this way. So when we did the training, if I'm being honest, all I thought was, we are doing what's legally responsible, but this ain't reality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's easy to say someone shows up on property with a gun and starts shooting, you're going to do A, B, and C, but it's completely different
When you're in the midst of it.
in the midst of it.
Yeah.
So I think that that's something that, also, so yeah, when we talk about, I mean, is it, because I feel like on social media, everything's, get rid of the gun control, or we need to stop worrying about the guns. We need to pump more money into security in schools and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm not saying I agree with this argument. When it's not your school and not your kids, the argument that's brought up is, I don't want my kids going to a school that looks like a prison, that has all this security in place.
Right.
So it's, for me, I feel like if you were a administrator of a school, superintendents, whatever, for the most part, it's a losing situation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. To my knowledge, there hasn't been a school yet that goes, we prepared correctly and we were able to stop this and we can teach you how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
To my knowledge. I
Right.
could be wrong, but I have
Right.
not remember hearing that story.
Right. Yeah. Sadly, I think we're past the days of one security guard with a flashlight and a whistle and one armed officer.
Yeah.
I mean, whether like something has to happen, because yes, you don't want your child's school to look like a prison. However, what's the alternative?
Right.
Like, what is the risk better than the reward? Like,
Right.
like the reward is, your child coming home safe.
Right.
If it does look like, if there's more than one armed officer or somebody who's trained protecting, because I think a lot of gun owners in our country say that a gun is a shield in the right person's hand. And would that be enough to deter some active shooters?
I mean, I think you could definitely probably say yes. However, let's just take the public school near us. It is grown at such an alarming rate. Let's say you are the skilled officer on duty that in this situation that you could handle it. What is the percentage chance that you're at the right spot?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not, if you've never seen our high school during changing of periods, it's crazy. How many kids are walking through the halls,
mm-hmm.
and I can only imagine how long it'd take him to get from A to B,
right?
And what all could have happened in that
in
amount
between.
of yeah. And that's the thing. How many, like it or not, and I'm not trying to make light of this. If it's your child, there's no dollar amount enough, but there is the amount of money. We cannot afford to spend enough money to make safety as well as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like.
Yeah. And
that's a sad statement, but it's the reality of where we're at.
Yeah. What role do you think mental health plays into these mass shootings?
I mean, there seems to be a lot. I mean, just from, granted, shooters that are taken out on the spot, we're just taking word from family members that they had mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the big debate would be how much is that it used as an excuse,
right,
and how much is it reality.
Right.
For me, and maybe this is just for me to sleep at night, I want to believe for someone to take a weapon and to go to a school to inflict violence on children that have nothing to do with what's going on in your life, there has to be something mental going on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's not, but for me, I believe that there has to be more. And I'm not trying to make an excuse. It's still heinous what they've done,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I think it has to be. There has to be something going on inside of you that you break to that point.
Yeah.
And I don't. And honestly, I don't like this lady that her life was taken. I do want to know. I would love to know. I'm sure her family wants to know. What is it that happened?
Yeah.
That this is the decision you feel like you needed to make.
Yeah. So according to Columbia University's Department of Psychiatry, 5% of the mass shooting deaths since 2013 have 5% of the shooters have had some sort of mental illness that was diagnosed. 5%. All of these cases, they talked about struggling with life stressors like being bullied, feeling empty, angry, unfulfilled, desire to be seen even in a negative light. Those were the common threads. But as far as and mental health and mental illness, they're cousins, but it's not necessarily the same thing. Being diagnosed with schizophrenia is,
right.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's
and I feel like, so when you ask the question to me, I feel like I look at it as, I wasn't assuming that most of these are diagnosed with schizophrenia or anything like that. I'm thinking more like you have been bullied to the point where you have been stressed, whatever.
Right.
And I guess for me, again, there's no reason to ever do it, but there's been some in the past where it's a kid has been bullied so much and he goes to school to retaliate.
Right.
Not that that's okay, but it makes more logical sense than when you have, because correct me if I'm wrong, the Uvalde one, they had no connection. His grandma worked there or something like that.
I can't even remember.
But there was he didn't go to school there or anything. And this lady, to my understanding, there's been no real connection to the
She used to go to that school.
Yeah, years ago.
Right.
It's not like you, these kids have been picking on you.
Right.
At all.
Right.
So,
right.
like there's definitely something.
Yeah, I think it's like what can be done before a person gets to this point, like as far as counseling and therapy, but then this goes into another hot topic like healthcare.
Yep.
This turns into a healthcare issue. So what are we doing to provide resources for people who are struggling with
Yeah.
mental health issues, not necessarily to the point where it's like an illness, but like it's just a like Inception. There's like deeper and deeper things that we get to the heart of the matter, and the reality is that we have a huge heart issue in our country.
Yeah.
To where it seems as though our politics is more important than the Imago Dei.
That's I can see that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, it kind of, what I just said kind of goes into the next question. Why does it seem that people are more concerned with holding on to their guns than mental health in our society?
Yeah, I mean, I will say one of the comments I saw besides, I mean, I felt like there was a huge portion of people on social media defending. I feel like anytime anything happens with guns, immediately gun right stuff comes up. And not to be on both sides of that coin, I feel like it's a natural way to want to be because it feels like that's where political parties immediately take it.
Right.
But the thing that I felt like was a little encouraging was I did see multiple people going, instead of fighting about guns, why are we not fighting about mental health? And I think that this is my personal opinion. This is not I have not done the research. I have not, like, there's no evidence to this outside of my personal belief. I think it goes back to that pull yourself up by your bootstraps idea and raise your kid well, and they won't do this mindset that we have in this country, which is why we don't well, and when you live your life through your children to fight for this American dream, having mental health issues is not part of the plan.
Come on.
So, not that I don't think any parent wants to go, my child needs help, my wife, my husband needs help.
Yeah.
But the reality is we have put such a stigma on that we bury it until it can't be buried, and then it's just really, really bad.
Yeah.
So why are we going to fight for something we don't want to admit we have?
Yeah. Yeah. We don't like to talk about the internal pressure. It's a lot easier to stay on the surface and not talk about the internal pressures that we may even face ourselves. So we shield off emotional things. We shield off all things that have to do with anything internal, and we put up these walls. And what is the best wall that you can do, or that you can put up? A barrier that you can put up is hold a gun in somebody's face.
Yeah.
They ain't going to want to get any closer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you are protecting my shield.
Well, and here's what's so crazy that you said. We've done however many episodes now. I've got more people that have struggled with, you said it first, but I mean 100% agree with you on this. And this isn't like we have studied this diligently. Us saying that David had chronic depression that he struggled with most of his life. People do not want to hear that. They want to go, well, I just don't like. No, it's clear. Like this isn't opinion. Like it's clear as day if you read scripture.
Yeah.
But even in that, like, again, back to our American dream, like there's certain people in the Bible we want to stand behind, and David, not because he's depressed, because he kills giants. Weapon. So like there's something there.
He's a giant slayer.
Yeah, he killed him with a rock.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think as a society we have become desensitized to school/mass shootings? Do you feel like it's It's just the new norm.
It clearly is the new norm. Like the numbers alone, I mean, you can't like, and that's sad to say.
Yeah.
I mean, because I remember growing up in school and like not even growing up in school. I remember when I first went into student ministry, I would literally just walk into school and have lunch with students and not checking at the office.
Yeah.
Nothing. And now you can't even do that, which rightfully
your ID.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So it's clearly the new norm. I do think we have become desensitized to any type of situation like this. Some is because of the reality of what's happening, and some is because of social media.
Yeah.
I think that we've always had a mass shooting, killing problem. I think social media has made it more apparent.
Yeah.
Which has made us more desensitized. Like I think it's always been an issue. Like murder has always been a thing.
Yeah.
But it's so. I mean, but I would even say it's bigger than just these two. I think we as a country have become desensitized to death in general. It's alarming that we're one of the only countries that still believe in having the death penalty.
Yeah.
So like it's in our DNA
From the start.
from the jump. So
Yeah. Seeing people die on camera
yeah,
is normal now.
yeah,
I mean, that's just the reality of it. And it's heartbreaking that things like this is now like barbershop talk.
right.
We don't just talk about, who's the greatest player of all time anymore in barbershops. We talk about mass shootings and did you see this person? Did you see Ahmaud Arbery? Did you see did you see these things on camera? And it's just like, why is this normal? Like
Well,
this isn't supposed to be.
Well, and the reason you can tell where you become desensitized towards it is because how quick we move on now.
Yeah.
Like I remember when it was Ahmaud Arbery or George Floyd or even some of the other shootings that happened in schools, like we mourned and lingered for a long time.
Mhm.
And then it was like even Uvalde, I felt like we moved on from that really
Very
quickly.
quickly.
Yeah. And some of us because another tragedy has happened. Some of us because it's just become part of who we are as a country.
Yeah.
Which is scary.
Yeah. Do you think guns should be banned?
So let me that's a loaded question. No pun intended. I own guns. You don't, correct? Maybe.
Maybe.
What if I show up? I'm gonna find out.
Maybe.
We own guns. We don't. Let me be clear. We're not avid collectors. Not judging on people that are.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't financially afford to be an avid collector. Nor is that what I want to collect.
Right.
But we do own guns. However, and I don't know that I agree at this point that guns should the idea of owning a gun in itself, I don't know that should be banned. However, the way people act about their guns makes me want to ban them.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
For me, first of all, I want to be really clear. We own guns because it is a great stress reliever. Me and my wife used to love to go shoot just for the fun of shooting.
Mm-hmm.
I can reassure you, if you decide you're coming in to my house, there's a lot of things that might happen to you. Getting shot ain't one of them, because I literally, like, the one time we thought someone broke into our house in the middle of the night, I got up and I'm kind of out of it. And I'm headed down the stairs and get all the way to the bottom stairs and realize that I'd left the gun on the top stair because I was trying to be like private eye, like low, stay low. I was told you to do that, but also this, like, I don't want to kill anybody.
Yeah.
Like, that's the last possible thing I want to do. So yeah, I'm okay either way, to be honest. Where are you at on it?
I don't necessarily think that they should be banned. I think it is a huge idol for 50% of our country. But the logic doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
I think that's where it's like, okay, you ban guns. That doesn't mean that people gonna stop.
Right. Well, and that
You know what I'm saying?
here's my
Like,
struggle. So, like, I
it's-
do get the argument. So, I do get this argument. If you ban guns, the only people you're making it hard on is people that are doing it the right way. Like, there's no one that has a desire to do criminal activities that if they want to murder you, like you're going to figure out a way.
Right.
But so on the other side, like, because the argument of The Rock, Cain might or might not have used a rock, and David used a rock. But you could also make out if there's less rocks, there's less options.
I mean, yes, but at the same time, just like drugs, like there's a lot of drugs that are banned, but they're imported.
Absolutely. Well, and that's
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the thing. Like,
So it's just going to become another thing that's imported into our country for
by our country.
possibly by our country.
So I might be getting messy here. So
Yeah.
so if you do the research, the majority when cocaine came, it came by our government.
Yeah,
Any way you want to slice it.
Yeah.
That they might not have physically brought it in,
yeah.
but they allow people to do it.
And allowed it to go into certain areas
Yes.
in our country.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I feel like if you ban them, the corruption of who we are, it's still going to be here. Like they're not going anywhere.
Right. Right.
However, my struggle though is the mindset of how people can be towards their guns. Like if you're asking me,
Come and take it.
first of all, that don't make any sense to me. Because correct me if I'm wrong, and if you're like, I'm a pretty big history buff, but correct me if I'm wrong. Come and take it comes from the Alamo, right?
I have no idea.
Like I think I remember if it did come from the Alamo, like my answer would be they did come and take it. I'm just being honest. Like, I mean, yes, in the long run, we won, but like at that time, but again, like, so the answer to the question: if tomorrow Texas said we are banning guns as a follower of Christ and following the law, even if I don't agree with it, you're not going to have to come take my guns. I will bring them to you because that's what God has called me to do. This mindset, and here's what makes gun people look bad: when you have signs on your door going, "This house doesn't call 911. We call 811 to find the best place to bury the body." Like that ain't helping nobody.
That's
And
I haven't heard that one.
I heard it literally. I did a wedding, and the guy had a lot of land, and I don't even know how he got there. I complimented. I was like, "Man, you have some really beautiful land," which he did. He goes, "Well, it's because if you come out here, I got plenty of places. I'll call 811 to figure out where to bury the body." I'm like, it got really intense, really quick.
Yeah.
Like I'm just the DJ, and so. But to me, this mindset of, and I've heard multiple Christians say this: if you ban guns, show up at this house and see if you're taking them. Like, how is that Jesus?
Yeah.
Like, are you so worried that you don't think God will take care of you? I don't know. Like I don't agree with banding.
Yeah, I don't either. However, according to our good friend Eric,
Correct.
like he cannot talk about, because he was law enforcement, he
Right.
cannot talk about, people that he has had to
Make that decision.
reprimand, make that decision without crying.
Right. One of the reasons he is no longer in law enforcement
Yeah.
because of what it did.
He can't. So it's like we just think that we're just going to do it and be all willy-nilly about it. It's like
And so
you haven't been there.
Yeah, I can say, because I've spoke to multiple friends that I have that are in law enforcement, say specifically, and I mean, in a few weeks we'll be on the show and maybe we'll ask this question. He has said there is one thing to be a good shot at a target. It's another thing in the moment like that to think that you're going to actually shoot someone.
Yeah.
And there's the whole what is behind them, and like the
Right.
way you're trained to do that. I think plays a lot into that.
Yeah. I think we kind of talked about the next question. Answered it. What should our response as Christians be towards the gun control debate?
I feel like, honestly, I don't even feel like we should be in it.
Come on.
Like, for me, I have no dog in that fight. Like, to sit here and say, if someone broke in my house and my family was in danger and my gun was available, that I wouldn't use it to protect my family. I hope I never want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, that is the last thing on this earth that I would ever want to do. I would find no joy in that.
Yeah.
I would never be the same. And I don't know what I would do, to be honest. Like, I genuinely, like, my prayer is, God, if there's any way out of this situation besides doing that, show me.
Yeah.
So as far as owning a gun, banning guns, like, it deserves zero amount of my energy. If me and my wife, and honestly, we don't even really go shoot that much anymore because I get so sick and tired of people going, well, he's a pastor and he believes in guns too. I don't believe in guns. It's a recreational activity, no different than me shooting a basketball like I'm shooting a target. Like, I'm not preparing for war. So for me, I don't care. Like, if you want them, all I hope is that you pay me for them, because I did use money. Like, I'd like some reimbursement, like, of some sort. But you can have them. Like, and I will lose zero sleep over it.
Yeah.
It means nothing to me.
Yeah. I think what we're seeing in a lot of ways, I won't go Star Wars and all nerd out with Order 66, but I will say we are about to experience a great fall when it comes to America, because we're imploding.
100%.
Like, we are literally looking like Rome. And one of the biggest reasons and how they fell was government corruption and political instability and infighting.
Well, just when you agree the sheer arrogance we have under the loyalty of whatever side we're on.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy to me. Like, most people I had conversation with this week and said, this is a tragedy. And whether you're right or left side, they said, well, did you hear what they said? What does that have to do with anything?
Anything.
Like, I didn't ask that.
Right.
Like, I'm asking, how do you feel about these poor children and these humans that lost their life to someone that clearly had something going on in them that's not okay?
Right.
How do we help?
Right.
And everybody wants to go, well, if you'd have voted right.
Right. Yeah. And then it becomes somebody's fault. It's just, it's draining. And again, going back to our social media episode, this is why I have to, because it's like, I'll type something out. Nope. I can't do that. Nope. Don't need to do that. It's just going to, because if, God forbid that I am ever in a situation to where one of my family members pass away from something like this happening, and you get on social media and you try to make a political point,
it's not going to be good.
It's not going to be good for you.
It's not going to be good
at all. It's not going to be good.
Yeah, like, to me, and that's what breaks my heart, when you see people drag people through the mud to make a political point. And I'm like, people are hurting.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely hurting right now. And I'm not talking about people that don't know. I'm talking about believers. Like, instead of saying, pray for this school, pray for this town, we're going, well, I told you. And here's the thing we don't know. We have no idea if everything in politics was different, if the same thing would happen. You don't know that.
Right.
Like there has been plenty of mass shootings under both regimes.
Yes.
Like, it's not like, oh, this side's in there, let's make a field day for it, boys.
Right.
Like, it's just, it's so, and I agree with you. Like, it's hard on social media. It feels like, to me, people care more about what I think politically than what I think spiritually.
Yeah.
From people that are spiritual.
Yeah.
Like, which makes absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah. when I look in scripture, whether it is Jesus or Paul, I see them saying in so many words to be satisfied in the sure hope of heaven, and not in the shaky hope of self-defense.
Right.
Like, and people, I know Luke 22, when Jesus tells his disciples, which I believe it's not necessarily metaphorically, but he says, turn in your cloak and buy a sword. People try to use that as
right.
reason to arm up. But I don't think he was trying to produce an armed band of preachers.
No, because these very men that had swords, Peter cut a ear off and Jesus put it back on his head.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Like that doesn't
and
make
if that's the correct interpretation, my question is, why did none of his disciples in the New Testament after that
right. Fight.
Why didn't they ever and they went through a lot of persecution.
They all died martyrs' deaths.
You know what I'm saying? So
some
it's like,
worse than Jesus's.
Exactly. So finding our basically hope or security in concealed weapons is
do you feel like it? I know I'm cutting you off of my brain. I wanted to see your point on this. Do you feel like it's from a standpoint of I've collected so many idols, so now I need to protect them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And like, I need to protect my family as well. Right. And you know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's fine. Just don't try to make it biblical.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
If
say somebody breaking into your house is you enduring persecution.
Yeah, it's not. Like, again, if your God is your family and your house and your cars and your money, cool. Then you probably do need a gun and you probably need to stand on watch 24/7.
Yeah.
But don't say this is me doing what God called and protecting my family.
This is the Christian thing, and because we mix
absolutely
evangelicalism and politics and conservatism and right wing we mix all of that in this melting pot of what we call American. I mean, basically it's evangelicalism, but
right.
It's not.
No,
it's not. So don't just please don't make it or try to make it biblical, because it's not.
It's not.
This isn't persecution.
I feel
them
like
coming to take our guns isn't persecution
at all.
No. Do I want that to happen? No, because I may or may not have any. You don't know. Nobody will know. But but it's like, don't try to make this out to be some sort of New Testament church persecution thing. That's my only not ask, but just don't, because it's not biblical. This isn't a biblical situation. And if you want to put your shaky hope in self-defense and this country, by all means, go for it.
Go for it.
Go for it. Let me know how that
believe
works out.
That you are satisfying what God wants for you in doing that.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
This may have to, we're definitely going to come back to this topic, but any closing
I feel
remarks?
like we're circling are having political conversations, which
we gonna dive in. This is just the cap. So
closing conversations. I would just ask, here's my closing thought. One, in a moment of tragedy, let's pray to have empathy for those that are hurting. If we could do that, maybe we would be slow to speak and way more quicker to listen.
Yeah.
That'd be the first thing. And just even pray like, God, what is this school going through? What is this principal? Like, I couldn't imagine being that principal.
Or that pastor who is trying to love his community well, and one of the victims was his daughter.
Yeah, like, to me, like that principal will never be the same.
Yeah.
That school district will never be the same. Like, whether they made the decision to cut corners or not. So just so we're clear, we've all done that in our life in different areas. they're never going to be the same. And to me, when you're so quick to get your agenda across, you miss the opportunity to share the gospel.
Yeah.
You missed it. And I would just say, what's making you grip so tight to whatever it is?
Yeah.
If it's not Jesus, then we're failing.
Yeah. No, for sure. On that note, I just want to pray. I want to pray for the families. It's just, I can't imagine. But as brothers in the Lord, for those victims, I just want to pray for comfort.
Yeah.
So I'll close out with a prayer.
Okay.
Yeah. Lord, we call upon your name during this time for the grieving families of the victims from the Nashville shooting last Monday. God, King David, in the midst of his grief, said these words in Psalm 31, "Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am in distress. My eye is wasted from grief, my soul and my body also." God, hearts may be exhausted and broken. We just ask that you be near in the midst of all their sorrows and tears as they pour them out. Send comfort, God. Shower your comfort on them. Through David, you also said that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed spirit in Psalm 34. So give hope in this present time that the next 30 plus years will be the hardest that these families will have to endure in the midst of the next trillion. Their anger may be fierce, fear may be crippling. And then in the midst of all of these emotions, numbness may set in. So we ask, Lord, to tenderly minister to our brothers and sisters' shattered hearts. Let us not see their loss as a political point to make, but let us see them as image bearers and treat them as such. We love you, God. And what we know not, teach us. What we have not, give us. What we are not, make us. For the sake of your Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. This has been Culture on Tap. Thank you for tapping in with us. We will see you guys next week. Culture on Tap is sponsored by Houston Radio Platinum, playing the best classic hits. You can download the Houston Radio Platinum app. It's in your app store, or just ask Alexa to play Houston Radio Platinum.